Hey everyone, welcome to the St. Cloud State Virtual Day of Percussion. My name is Jenny Klukken and I'm a marimbist from Minneapolis, Minnesota. And I have to say, this is the first time being a part of a virtual day of percussion, but I'm really excited that despite the circumstances in the world right now, we're still able to connect. I'm definitely going to share my contact information so that if you have questions, I hope that we can connect. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about my journey with the marimba. It's a little bit different than the typical path, and so I'm excited to share my story with you, and I'm going to do a little bit of playing, and in other videos I'm going to show you some techniques that you can do at home to try out some of the ideas that I have. So I started playing music really young. I have a really musical family, and I grew up playing jazz and folk music. My mom is Irish, and so lots of Irish music, and just, I guess, generally lots of settings where everybody's playing together and people are taking turns soloing and learning the chord progressions. And so when as I grew up, I got interested in percussion and ended up choosing it as my main instrument and going to college for a percussion performance degree. I went to the University of Minnesota right here in Minneapolis, and kind of took the typical path in percussion, learned all the instruments, practiced all the instruments, but I really knew from the beginning of my degree, my time at the U, that marimba was going to be the instrument that I really stuck with. So I learned lots of different repertoire, learned a few big concertos, and finished off my degree and got done with school, got handed my diploma, and then realized I have to figure out what to do with this. That was probably one of the biggest shocks of my life, is finishing college and realizing I have no recital to prepare for. I have nobody pushing me in lessons unless I really make that happen. And so it's a really big shift for a musician, and you become, it becomes really necessary for you to sustain your art. So, one of the things that I discovered was that when I was trying to figure out what to do post-college, I would look at repertoire and try to learn new marimba pieces and think, yeah, it's okay, but I don't know. None of the repertoire got me really excited, or I would maybe get kind of excited about a piece, and then I would look online and find 15 other people playing the piece before me, and something about it just didn't feel like what I wanted to do, was just learn more music that other marimbists have played. And so I got kind of thinking about combining my background in improvisation and folk music and jazz with marimba. Now this is a pretty uncommon pairing. The marimba pretty much lives in the world of modern classical music, which is wonderful music, and I have a deep appreciation for it. But I do think that generally the marimba is kind of limited, at least in the United States, it's limited to that. I'd say the United States and Europe, it's limited to that box. And so I'm really interested, and have been interested, in breaking out of that box and trying the marimba in more improvisation-based, tune-based musical settings where I'm not learning notes, where I'm not learning music note by note by note, but I'm learning the chords and the melody, and I'm improvising and creating different patterns. That is really exciting to me. So I co-founded a group back in 2012 called Matra, and that was really my first official setting where I was improvising in a group. We actually made a record in 2016 that you can go listen to. It's on Spotify and anything you stream music on, Matra. But that was like my first platform for not only improvising and chording, but actually composing. I started writing tunes and working it out with that ensemble. So I continued on playing. I was in a Brazilian jazz trio for a while where I really dug into Brazilian music. and totally fell in love with it. And lots of different collaborations along the way, be it I've played with some bluegrass ensembles, I played with a beatboxer. I'm just really interested in breaking out of the norm with marimba and being really creative with it. So that led me to, like I said, when you're out of college, you are no longer studying with somebody, but it got me really hungry to study with somebody. And so after consulting with my old professor, Fernanda Mesa, I decided that Eric Samu would be the right person for me to study with for a while. If you don't know Eric Samu, you need to go learn about him, but he is a real pillar of marimba music. I really think learning some of Eric's music is a rite of passage for every marimbist. And the reason I wanted to study with him is because he's really, really fantastic at improvisation, and all of his compositions are basically the moments he decided to write down his great improvisations. And that's really rare to find in the marimba world. So I applied for a grant and got one. That makes it sound so simple when grant writing is really so hard, but I wrote a grant and I won one in 2018, and so that paid for me to travel to Paris and stay there for a month and take 2 lessons a week with Eric Samu. So that was probably one of the highlights of my musical career. And with Eric, I really worked on elevating the marimba into a world of improvisation and free play. Still maintaining, marimba's really hard to play. There's a lot of technique that happens with marimba, and so it takes a lot of technique and a lot of knowledge about music theory, and combining those two is complicated. And so it's also not something that people improvise and chord on a lot. So the ideas that Eric has are new ideas, and the ideas that I have are new ideas. If you want to learn about accompanying and soloing on piano or guitar, there's a million books out there for you, but it's really a new idea. And so I was really excited to have the opportunity to work with somebody who had spent a lot of time thinking about improvisation for the marimba. I had taken improv lessons with vibus and guitarists and pianists before, but I had never taken lessons with a marimbist centered around improvisation. So while I was there, I wrote a ton of music, and have been writing a lot of music ever since I went, and I'm actually recording an album hopefully this year. More on that later, but I am recording an album despite the coronavirus and other things happening in my life. I'll tell you more about that after I play, but I'm going to play one of the pieces that I composed while I was in Paris studying with Eric. And it's one of my favorite pieces, but it really because it really shows off what I think is the core of my style of playing. There's going to be a melody and chords and improvisation, but lots of the bubbly marimba virtuosity that we all know and love and practice so hard to be able to do. So this is called Comme une Française, which is like a French woman. So I wrote it while I was in France and trying to blend in. So here it is, Comme une Française. piece comme française. You heard a melody, you heard a second melody, you heard some improvisation in there, 2 rounds of improvisation over the course of the melody. So I'd say that is, well, that's one of my favorite pieces that I've written, and there's actually a whole lot more to it. I just did kind of a trimmed down version, and when I record my album later this year, I hope that you'll take a listen and hear the whole thing. There's a whole drum section in the second half that's going to be really fun. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was just kind of where I am with music right now. Like I said, in the other videos, I'm going to show you some techniques, and in this one, I want to tell you a little bit about my process and the things that have kind of been value to me as a musician in this day and age, in 2020. It's a really interesting time to be a musician. As you can see right here, it's a little odd to be presenting a day of percussion in my basement to you all right now, but we're doing it and we're making it work. And I think it's really important to be super flexible and make things work as you pursue music. So I mentioned my album, but I wanted to share kind of the process of that. I decided that I wanted to make an album, and I decided that I wanted to make it with some musicians that I had met in Costa Rica when I traveled there on a different grant to do some teaching and some learning there. But I met some amazing musicians that I knew were going to make my album just totally dynamite, and got a great offer from a recording studio and a producer there. So I decided to make an album and record it in Costa Rica. And I had like 300 followers on Instagram and not much of a network of fans. And not everybody is Googling cool marimbas from Minneapolis. People aren't really out there searching for marimba, but when they see it, they really like it and are interested in it. That's what I find anyways. And so I have really wanted to make marimba approachable for all kinds of listeners, and I needed to reach lots of different ears because I needed more of a fan base to make an album happen. And so with lots of help, I started a Kickstarter campaign. And if you're not familiar with Kickstarter, it's just an online resource for crowdfunding for any project that you want. I ran a Kickstarter campaign, but I also ran an arts drive. That's another thing about me. I'm actually a visual artist on the side, or maybe it's not even on the side anymore. I've been making a lot of art lately. And so I put out a call for 10 commissions for 10 pieces of art, and all the profits from my art being sold would pay for the album. When I first told my campaign coach that I needed $10,000 to make an album, she laughed and said, "You'll maybe get 3 or 4. Well, between the hard work online, gathering fans for the Kickstarter campaign and getting my art out there, I did end up raising $10,000 for the album, which is totally nuts. And along the way, I started making videos of myself making art, and then putting my marimba music, my improvised marimba music, over the top of it, and sort of, I'd always kept art and music really separate in my life, and it occurred to me one day that those things could go together. It seems really obvious right now when I say it that art and music should be together, but the process of fundraising for that album made me discover that. I'm going to share somewhere some links for you to check out those videos, because if you're here, you like music, and so you'll probably enjoy them, especially if you like art. But I just wanted to share that story just to show you that whatever you do, if you're passionate about it and you're good at it and you work hard at it, it's probably the thing that you should do. I never expected to be a acrylic flow artist and a marimbist that combined worlds, but I am, and I have made a decent living off of doing that. I also teach, which is honestly where most of my income is from, but I fundraised $10,000 to make a marimba album. A lot of people don't even know what a marimba is, but I have found inspiration in that process, and so I hope that you will hear that and pay very close attention to the things that you're good at and that you're passionate about, and put those forward, because putting them forward for me worked out very well. I was about to record this album I'm talking about. I was going to record it in January, but then had some health problems come up with my husband's dad, so had to delay to be around for that. And then I was going to go in early April, and the coronavirus hit. So I have rescheduled this thing twice, and I'm planning on a third. So hopefully the album will happen soon. Hopefully the world opens up again very, very soon. And I was really looking forward to sharing the album with you today. But thanks, coronavirus, I do not have it for you. What I do have is plenty of demo tracks on my website. My website is jennyklukken.com, and you can find my art there, you can find my music there, you can find my blog. I also have a Facebook page and an Instagram page. So I hope that you'll connect with me if you feel led to. Stick around for some more videos where I show you how you can practice improvising in your own practice time.